Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the audit paper.
Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon.
My Lords, the Minister for the European Neighbourhood has spoken 4 times to the Armenian and Azerbaijani foreign ministers, most recently in November, where she welcomed the cessation of hostilities. We recognise that both sides have had to make difficult decisions to ensure the safety and security of their citizens. We, of course, remain deeply concerned by allegations of war crimes, desecration of cultural heritage and the humanitarian situation, and continue to raise our concerns with all concerned parties.
Baroness Cox.
My Lords, I thank the Minister for his reply, but is he aware that despite the ceasefire, reports continue of atrocities perpetrated by Azerbaijani forces on Armenian military and civilian prisoners? During and since my visit, I have seen videos and photos of mutilations, torture and killings, including beheadings of Armenians, and heard of Azeris taking phones from prisoners, filming their torture and killings, and sending these back to their families. Will Her Majesty's government act with great urgency to ensure that Azerbaijan is called to account well-documented atrocities continuing, or will the government allow Azerbaijan to maintain impunity?
My Lords, let me assure the noble lady we continue to raise these issues at the highest level. My honourable friend, Minister Morton, as well as my right honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, are fully engaged on this agenda. We, of course, are supporting the OSCE Minsk's co-chairs in this regard. And we also recently, on a positive note, though, welcomed the positive news of exchange of prisoners of war. That did take place on 14 December, but atrocities need to be fully looked at and investigated.
Lord Anderson of Swansea.
My Lords, the Nagorno Karabakh remains a frozen conflict and a continuing danger to regional peace. So far, our role has been limited, if not irrelevant. Can the noble Lord the Minister say whether we shall indeed concentrate on human rights, on religious toleration, on the protection of civilians, and of course protection of the religious sites?
My Lords, let me assure the noble Lord the points he's made, not just in this conflict but any conflict, are important areas to consider, and let me also assure him that in all our exchanges with both sides, those very points have been made, and continuing about the also emphasising the unfettered access of the ICRC to the region as well.
Baroness Northover.
My Lords, following up on that, I wondered if the noble Lord could tell us what the ICRC and other international bodies, what access they are being given in the area to guard against feared ethnic cleansing, and also what follow-up might there be independently to investigate possible war crimes committed by either side.
My Lords, on the 30th of October, the Foreign Secretary, as the noble lady may know, announced £1 million in funding to the ICRC to support their humanitarian efforts. In this regard, on the issue of access specifically, we are working with international partners on that very point to ensure all people across the region receive the aid they require. In terms of any conflict anywhere in the world, it's important that crimes are fully investigated, and that's why we're very supportive of the work of the co-chairs at the OSCE of the Minsk Group in this respect.
Lord Pickles.
My Lords, following the recent ceasefire, Turkey was suggesting that it might deploy peacekeepers to the region. Does my noble friend agree that it is a prerequisite of a peacekeeper that it should enjoy the confidence of both sides? This is clearly not the case. What discussions has my noble friend and the government had with the Turkish government, our NATO partner, in terms of how it might use its facilities to reduce the tension within the region and to ensure cooperation, that those who have perpetrated acts of war crimes and acts against humanity are brought to justice?
My Lords, I agree with my noble friend on the principle that peacekeepers need to have the support of all sides to the conflict. On the issue of Turkey specifically, my right honourable friend, the Foreign Secretary, and the Minister for the European Neighbourhoods have engaged directly with their Turkish counterparts on this very issue.
Lord Curry of Kirkharle.
My Lords, we all share a deep concern and revulsion at the extent of these atrocities. and lots of words have been spoken, but it still appears that not enough pressures are being brought to bear to try and resolve this issue. So I just wonder if my Lord the Minister can confirm what international conversations he's had with the UN, with others, to try and bring more pressure to bear in order to resolve this dreadful situation.
My Lords, discussions have taken place at all levels. I've already mentioned the OSCE and the support given there. There's also been discussions at the UN Security Council in this respect. The important thing is that now cessations and the peace deal that's been negotiation holds, there's a return of prisoners, and ultimately that there can be peace in a region which has suffered from conflict for too long.
Lord Collins of Highbury.
My Lords, just two quick points, picking up on Baroness Northover's question. In a written answer, the Parliamentary Under-Secretary at the FTO last month confirmed she had discussed humanitarian access with Russian Deputy Minister Titov. Can the Noble Lord tell us a bit more? What was the outcome of those discussions? And last October, we had the announcement of £1 million going in humanitarian support. Can he give us an update on how that money has been distributed and what successes the United Kingdom have in encouraging others to give humanitarian support?
My Lords, if I may, I write specifically to the Noble Lord on the point of the £1 million and the impacts it's had. Specifically on the issue of discussions, we of course are raising the need for support of all refugees in this context and support within the region as well, and we continue to impress upon all authorities about the key issue which was raised in Russia as well by my honourable friend, was the issue of unfettered access.
Lord Bruce of Benarchie.
My Lords, atrocities have been reported on both sides, and of course they must be investigated and prosecuted. But this conflict has been frozen for nearly 30 years. The rights of Armenians must be protected, but so should the rights of more than 600,000 Azeris that have been displaced for more than a generation within their own country. So does the Minister agree that the international community, while recognising Nagorno Karabakh as an integral part of Azerbaijan, have failed to progress a long-term solution? So what can be done to ensure that this settlement leads to a permanent resolution and not become the seeds of a renewed conflict?
My Lords, the important point is that all occupied territories are vacated, and ultimately within Nagorno Karabakh the issue of the rights of the citizens are respected, and in this regard it is our view, as I've said already, that the Minsk process provides the actual basis on which this can be taken forward, and we implore all sides to cooperate fully.
The Lord Bishop of Coventry.
My Lords, as has been implied, thousands of Armenian monuments and cultural heritage sites are now under Azerbaijan's control, including ancient churches, monasteries and cemeteries. There's evidence that Azerbaijan has already begun to deny the Armenian heritage of these sites. So may I ask the Minister what steps the government is taking to support UNESCO in drawing up an inventory of the most significant cultural monuments, and also whether conversations have been had with Azerbaijan about their responsibilities under the 1954 Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property in the event of armed conflict?
My Lords, let me assure the Right Reverend Prelate on the issue of protection of heritage and religious sites. That's an important part of the discussions that do take place with both sides, but in this particular case, specific to the Right Reverend Prelate's question, yes, on the issue within Nagorno Karabakh. On the issue of UNESCO and the site specifically, as to the detailed assessment, I will need to write to the Right Reverend Prelate in that respect.
Baroness Eaton.
My Lords, according to Genocide Watch's 10 stages of genocidal process, published in November, Azerbaijan had already reached stage 9, extermination, and stage 10, denial. What steps will Her Majesty's government take to fulfill their duty to protect and to provide for the victims of Azerbaijan's genocidal policies in the recent war?
My Lords, as I've already said, and I assure my noble friend that the government has implored both sides to protect all citizens, particularly those in Nagorno Karabakh, to make sure that they have their rights protected and guaranteed. On the issue of genocide, as my noble friend will be aware, it's really a matter, it's a long-standing government policy, it's a matter for judicial decision rather than for governments or non-judicial bodies.